Hi everyone, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and today I'm going to be planting up my patio containers. Now these are the containers that we have on either side of the step here next to me, and during the spring I have tulips in big tulip pots. I call them tulip pots because that's what I bought them for, but actually I swap those tulips out for dahlias in the summer, and so all those pots will have dahlias in. I'm not doing that today because that's like a really huge job and it uses quite a lot of compost and I need Richard's help. But what I am doing today is I'm planting up the more sort of boho rustic containers, which are a little bit smaller, and I use to sort of create a bit more atmosphere around the dahlia pots, and each year I change out what I use in those little pots, and I thought I'd bring you along today and show you what I've chosen. So I've chosen some perennials, flowering perennials, and I've also chosen some annual bedding plants, and there are a couple of things that I may have sown from seed that I'm also going to be putting in these pots, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and then hopefully I'll be able to show you what they look like afterwards, even though I don't have the dahlia pots there yet. So the first thing I'll say is that I use ordinary multi-purpose peat-free compost in all the pots. I don't bother using anything special, and the only thing that I add to it is a slow release fertilizer. So I always add that to my patio pots for the summer months because they really need some nutrition, and I will try to go around and feed them throughout the summer, but it's probably not as frequent as I'd like, which is why I always add something into the compost. The other thing is, do make sure if you're having if you've got patio pots, that whatever you're using, you make sure it's got good drainage. So for instance, if you've bought something that maybe didn't have a hole in it, like we bought these containers, just drill some holes in the bottom. Can you see we've drilled holes in the bottom of these? I mean, these look a little bit rusty now because I've had them a couple of years, but it is important to make sure that everything can drain, even though we're probably going to have to keep watering it. But that's just something that will really help the plants. And a lot of the plants that I'm using today are perhaps plants that don't need quite so much water. That's what I try to go for, because that really does help with the watering situation. So what I like to do also with the pots is I will try to find a container that will fit inside the pot, because it makes it a lot easier if I need to swap something out, maybe if it's not doing so well or if it's finished flowering. It's easier if I've got a pot inside. I can just whip it out and put something else in really easily. Now, you know, the pots don't necessarily fit perfectly, but by the time things are growing around the outside, it will be absolutely fine. The other thing I'm doing more and more these days is I'm planting just one plant in each pot. These pots aren't huge, you know, maybe they're 30 centimeters wide at the top, some of them a little bit bigger, some of them a little bit smaller, but they're not, you know, they're not huge pots. They're not like the tulip pots or dahlia pots. These are smaller size pots, and I find it makes it easier to arrange, but it also I don't know, I find it more pleasing to the eye with the smaller pots to just have one particular plant, and even if I put, you know, 2 or 3 of those plants in that pot, I just do one type in each pot. That also helps with things like when the plants have gone over, because if you've got various different plants in there and one goes over, it's harder to deal with. But if you've just got one particular plant in each pot, then once it's gone over, you can just whip that out, as I said, and put something else in its place. Let me show you what I'm going to start with. I'm starting with a perennial. So this is something that I already have in my landscape, but I bought some more because I want some more in the landscape, but also I think they're going to look really cute on the patio this summer, because they're going to go with the colour scheme that I've got for the dahlias, and that is something called Physostegia Crystal Peak White. Now this is an obedient plant, I think, and from what I've read, it's called an obedient plant because the flowers turn to face the sun, but somebody in the comments actually said that that's not the reason it's called obedient plant in a previous video, so I don't know whether that's true or not, but anyway, that's what I'm planting. I bought these as small plug plants, and I've potted them on and protected them from slugs and snails to the best of my ability, and I'm going to put, I think, 3 in each of these pots. Let's get started. So that's my slow release fertilizer added. Then I think I'm going to add 3 of what were these little plug plants to each of these pots. I've got 2 identical pots. I'm going to put 3 in each, and I think it will make a really nice display. They formed really nice root balls whilst they've been waiting to go in these pots. If you've been following along for a while, you'll know that I add horticultural grit to the top of the pots that go on the patio, especially the smaller ones where maybe there's going to be a lot of space, because it does a couple of things actually. The first thing it does is it helps to retain moisture in the compost below, and it also helps to suppress weeds. And I also think it looks quite nice, but when it rains or when we're watering, it stops the soil splashing up on the flowers and the plants, so it really helps with that too. So there are kind of, I guess, 3 reasons why I use the horticultural grit. What I'm trying to do this year is plant 2 identical pots, one to go on either side of the steps, because the steps are quite spaced quite far apart. The other thing I'm doing with the perennials is I am keeping the tags in the pots, because I find that when I plant them out of the landscape, I need the tags anyway. So even though I might remember what these are in these pots, I am hanging on to the tags for when these have finished flowering in the autumn. I'll just move these into position in my borders. This way I kind of get, you know, a really good bang for my buck. The next thing I'm going to plant is some lobelia. Now lobelia is an incredibly cute plant, and I've got 6 of these, so I'm going to put 3 in each pot. It's great for ground cover, and this one is called Waterfall White Sparkle. So it's just going to just go really nicely over the edges. So it grows to 15 centimetres high and 20 centimetres wide. So again, these came as tiny little plug plants, and I've just been growing them on, and they're flowering already, so I really want to get them into these containers. I've chosen quite a wide container because these will spread. And again, I think I'm going to put 3 into each one of these containers, just because I want a really full display. Oh, look at those roots. And I'm just sort of going to tip them over the edges. Now we've done 2 white plants, 2 white pots, I am going to be planting something with a bit of colour. So I have chosen these gorgeous pink verbenas. So these verbenas are called Showboat Pink, and they've just got this really lovely combination of colours. I think they're gorgeous. Verbena grows best in full sun, and they're going to get to about 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres, so they're going to make nice bushy plants. They've got this sort of trailing habit. They're quite upright at the moment, but they will sort of spread. The important thing I've found with verbena is to keep deadheading it, and then it will look absolutely wonderful. So I do find with the verbena that the slugs and snails really like it. So I've had to protect these. These haven't rooted in quite as well. They're a little bit on the more feeble side, but they'll all catch up, they'll be fine. Now these are definitely annuals, and I'm not going to be bothering to keep these to put in the borders. I just don't think they're going to survive. are winters, which is absolutely fine. It's nice to have some annuals. This one got eaten by slugs and snails. And I have been going out in the evenings trying to protect my plants, but I'm fighting a losing battle. Poor things just haven't rooted in very well. They've been struggling under attack. So the next thing I'm going to plant is something else with a gorgeous colour. Now this is a nemesia and it's called Sunmesia denim. And I just think that is the most gorgeous colour. It's a little bit rain damaged at the moment, but these ones, I mean, look how cute that is with the little white dots in the middle. They're so pretty. So these are going to grow to 30 by 40 centimetres. So I really should space them quite far apart. I should probably only put one in each pot. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put one per pot. Because these pots just aren't very big. This is probably, I don't know, 12 or 15 centimetres at the top. I just think the whites with the pinks and this lovely gentle mauvey blue is going to look so cute. So now I'm going to plant something that I grew from seed, and that is a heliotrope. Now I sowed, I don't know how many seeds, and I've only managed to grow one single heliotrope, but I'm super excited about it. This one's called Marine, and it's supposed to smell like cherry pie. It's called a cherry pie plant. So I am giving it its own individual pot, and it can sit here and bloom in all its glory and hopefully smell delicious. I don't actually know if I'm supposed to pinch this out, so if anybody knows, maybe they could let me know if I'm supposed to pinch the top to get it to branch, or whether I can just let it do its thing. It looks like it's branching already, so we'll see. That's my pride and joy. I'm also going to put something in this churn, and this is the pot that fits inside it. And what I'm going to put in here are, if you saw my tablescape videos, I've got these wire vines, and apparently they'll run rampant if we put them into the landscape. So I'm going to keep them in a pot, and this is something that I've just taken from my tablescape, because the tablescape is at a stage now where everything can get planted into the garden, and this is rooted in really nicely, but I think it's going to be happier in a much bigger pot through the summer months. So I think it's going to look really cute trailing over the churn. I'm not even sure I'm going to put any grit on that, because I think that it's going to cover that space really quickly. Oh, I need to put a brick in there. That's too low. I think that's going to look really cute trailing over the churn. So I'm also going to do 2 pots with a white bacopa. So like the denim one, this one's called Dynamic White. And again, this is something that can be planted out in the landscape. Once the summer's over, I'll just take them out of the pots. What I've done there is mix some super gritty compost, because what I'm going to do is plant some herbs, and they just really appreciate good drainage. So what I've got is some thyme, This is just ordinary thyme. Maybe I'll just do one bit of thyme and one bit of oregano in here. That can go in something else. So both of these are going to appreciate the same conditions. And to be honest with you, the oregano just grows wild in our garden. But I like to have some on the patio. I think it looks good and it's very handy to have by the kitchen. The next thing I'm going to plant are these calibrachoa. Now I did also have some bright pink calibrachoa, but the slugs and snails got to them and there's literally nothing left. They're completely dead. So I'm going to have to replace those because otherwise I don't have anything that's bright pink, and I really did want that. But these are really, really sweet, and I find the calibrachoa just keep flowering all summer long. So they're a definite must-have for me in my patio containers. Again, I ordered these as little plug plants and I've just been growing them on, which is why the slugs and snails got to them. Now, calibrachoa for me are a one and done, so they won't be going in my borders when I finish. They're just summer annuals. I can't overwinter these. And they'll grow about 30 centimetres tall and they're going to fill this pot really nicely, I think. The other thing I'm going to plant today are my poor neglected Dahlia capitata, which is a Queen's Anne thimble that I've grown from seed, and they really are a little bit neglected. They've been sitting around in these pots for far too long, and I should have potted them up or planted them out a while ago. They're also kind of stuck in there. So I don't know how they're going to fare, but I have high hopes that they're going to enjoy being in this pot. And you can see that they're starting to flower. So they really do need to come out of here. They're completely root bound and attached to the pot. I really like this milk churn here. So in here I'm going to plant some white verbena, and I think it's going to look really cute just trailing over the side. Here, what I'm planting is a self-seeded Lychnis. I'm sure there's another name for it. I can't quite remember, but I think I'm going to really enjoy the silvery foliage, and I think it's going to look really pretty with the other things that I've got planted there, especially the dahlias. Plus, this seems to grow anywhere, whether it gets watered or not. So I think it is the perfect patio pot plant because it just doesn't seem to mind the conditions. And I haven't cared for this at all, and it's already throwing up little flower buds. To be honest, it probably doesn't need any of the food that I've put in there either, but it's too late now. But I've run out of compost now, so I'm going to have to get some more compost. I had one or two more things that I wanted to get planted today, but they're only little, and I'll show you what they look like when I've potted them up and they're on the patio. In fact, if you want to see how these containers look during the summer months, I'll definitely be doing a tour, so do subscribe to my channel. If you've enjoyed the video today, do give it a like, it really does help me and I appreciate it. Anyway, I hope you've had fun as I potted up these plants and showed you what I've chosen to create a display on my patio this summer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.